Hi there, lovely people. Fiona here, talking to you today about self-confidence. How do we get self-confidence in the place of self-doubt? Now, when you think of the things you'd most like to accomplish or change in your life, know that self-doubt does protect you from the humiliation of falling flat on your face, sometimes just like that. There's no point in beating yourself up for sometimes beating yourself up. Paradoxically, we all have got an inner critic, and it can be a good idea to try and make friends with it. If you accept that self-doubt is part of being human, you can reclaim the power it used to have over you until now. You are human. You will make mistakes. We all make mistakes. You will doubt yourself. It's what you do next that matters. Your doubts are fear-driven stories that you make up about yourself, your worth and your abilities, and they are not the truth. In many cases, they're quite the opposite of the truth. We might hear from our inner critic, why would you bother speaking up and risk things getting out of hand or you being rejected? You might hear, why would you put your reputation on the line? Why would you risk this dream? Only when you're clear about what your big why is are you going to be able to overcome your doubts and risk failure. You need to be able to come up with a clear and convincing answer to the question, what am I willing to be brave for? And once you do, you'll realise why you need to act in spite of your doubts. Because if you let them win, there's a great risk that one day you'll look back with great regret and resentment. We often hear our doubts through the voice of our inner critic, that little voice that's constantly pointing out our flaws and questioning our worth. And it's the main culprit of imposter syndrome. It's always urging you to play it safe. The first step to reducing its control over you is to recognize it when it pops up as something separate from you. You could almost view it as an instinct, something that you've developed through your genetics over millennia to avoid harm. And social harm can be real, but we're not living in the Middle Ages. You could give it a name and say hello, calling it by that name when it pops up. Changing your perspective is the arrow to the heart of unrealistic negative inner criticism. You can ask yourself, what if the exact opposite were true? Like, I want to publish my work, but I don't feel it's good enough. How are you going to find out unless you try? Are you ready to accept failure? If you suspect that you might be afraid of success, there are some things you can look for inside yourself. Being afraid of what might happen if you were in the spotlight, or perhaps worrying about leaving people behind if you move forward because of success. Feeling anxious about taking on new responsibility because of that new thing in your life. Being worried that things will just get more complicated and more than you can handle, and fearing comments from naysayers or worrying about experiencing other social problems if you put yourself out there. These are all reasonable doubts, and if you look into them and decide that they're legitimate, it's okay to decide against a course of action. However, if your fears don't match reality, or you can realistically mitigate the problem in one way or another, it is possible to change your perspective. Then take the plunge. You can change your perspective on the emotions brought up by self-doubt as well. Ask yourself, why is this thing you want to do important to you? Do you feel nervous about doing it? Some of those bodily sensations are in fact no different from the sensations of being excited. You can reframe the experience by focusing on feeling your blood pumping, feel the tingles, and tell yourself, I am excited about this thing, I want this, and put the fear sensations aside. It's worth noting that the people you surround yourself with will either fuel your self-doubt or boost your self-confidence. So when you're ready to take a chance to start something or are trying to make a go of something important to you, if you try to surround yourself with people who will help you stay in action despite your doubts, it will be a whole lot easier, right? Avoid sharing with the naysayers in your life. They are probably also plagued with self-doubt and can't yet help themselves sharing it around. We can build self-confidence bit by bit by having the courage to take action despite our misgivings. One way to do this is to break down larger efforts into smaller bite-sized actions. This can create dramatic changes that last. Think of courage like a muscle. The more you use it, the more courageous you become. But you've got to be willing to exercise your courage, which means feeling the feels and doing the thing anyway, right? Preferably in small, manageable chunks. What if you were in fact more than ready for a bigger role? What if you had everything it took to do this? And what if no one is more or less talented, worthy, smart, or whatever it is enough to pursue this? I think you might be. Thanks for tuning in today. If you'd like a heads up for new videos, then hit the like and subscribe button below. If you'd like to comment, please do. I'd love to hear from you.